Living Pain here. Welcome. Day 231 of my 50-pound weight loss journey. And then once I get there, it'll be my 50-pound weight loss. Keep it off forever. Woke up this morning, as you saw, at 2:05 and change. Totally pissed off. Happy that it was lower than yesterday by a pound, but still totally pissed off. How do you go from 201.4 pounds on Friday to 205 pounds Saturday, 206 Sunday, and now Monday we're back to 205. And the most I ate was 3,600 calories and 2,600 calories. So in those 2 days, it was, what was that, about 6,000 calories. So even if I burnt nothing, I didn't eat anything for fuel, anything, I should only be up 2 pounds. So I'm sure it's water. At the same time, it's frustrating, especially when you're doing everything right. Well, I'm not doing everything right. Who am I kidding? I'm still eating sweets and, some ice cream and stuff. If I was really doing everything right, I'd be a miserable SOB, just eating my fruits and vegetables and lean cut meats and, all that sort of stuff. There's times I'm tempted to do that. And then I'm like, do you really have the self-discipline to do that? Or more importantly, do you really want to torture yourself? Because I definitely have self-discipline. If I really want to do something, I have the self-discipline. But the big question is, do I really want to torture myself? Because losing weight, cutting those calories down to 1,400 calories, not eating in the evenings, maybe even doing intermittent fasting, that is torture, man. That's torture. Although the result is pretty impressive when you get down there. So I've got some interesting news. I mentioned the other day that I was looking at signing up for a half Ironman, and I pulled the trigger, boom, today. And I'm doing Ironman, half Ironman, Ironman 70.3 in Calgary, August 1st. So that'll be pretty cool because my daughter also lives there, her boyfriend. So we'll be coming to visit. And it turns out where they're going to be and where the race is only 20 kilometers away. So 20-minute drive, which is awesome. So yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about Ironmans and a little about A, signing up, and then B, kind of an interesting story on how I got into Ironmans. So the first thing about signing up, my experience is those that do Ironman triathlons, by and large, or even those who are, Ironmans, they tend to just sign up first and ask questions second. And I'll tell you, I've done that my whole life. It's like, you know what, I got to get out of this rut. What do you need to do? You Google search, oh, here's a race. Okay, sign up, boom, and that's it. And then there's the other type of folks who do Ironmans that are much more pragmatic. So they'll go, well, I'm going to start with a sprint triathlon, build my confidence up there. Then I'm going to do an Olympic, build my confidence up there. Then, move to a half Ironman, confidence, and then do an Ironman. And they, it's a well thought out journey for them. Personally, I'm in the first camp. So, shoot first, ask questions later. That's what the first Ironman or half Ironman I ever did. Actually, the first triathlon was a half Ironman. And back in the day, they didn't have Olympic distance or sprint distance. It was either Ironman or half Ironman. That's it. So I remember signing up, didn't know anything about triathlons, didn't know what was involved. I had to, the very first half Ironman, the Morden Tin Man, I had to get a bike. I didn't have a bike. I didn't know how to cycle. So I got a bike from a guy. I think I paid $50 for a Nishiki, and had the rat traps for your feet, and just showed up, didn't know what to expect, did the swim, did a bike, did a run, and that was it. And then the next year I signed up for an Ironman. Again, you finish, don't know, yeah, let's just do it. Went to the Ironman in 87. And back then, to put it in perspective, the original Ironman in Kona was only 9 years old. So the first year that I did my first Ironman, it was the 9th anniversary of Ironman Kona. So it was a very fresh sport. And I remember when we were doing that first Ironman in Penticton, it was the best way to describe it was, Mount Everest. Using another example, sport, adventure, Mount Everest. In the beginning, it was an incredible, man, you climbed Mount Everest, that's insane, and all the rest of it, they didn't know what to expect, that sort of stuff. And then as the years go on and on and on, and now you see pictures from Mount Everest of people trying to summit, and the line's 200 people long, So back in the difference is these were early pioneers that were doing Mount Everest. And now it's become such common, not that it's easy. Don't take that climbing Everest is easy, because it's not. It's freaking crazy. But it's much more common, and people know how to do it. They know how to prepare for it. They know the right equipment, the right training, the blah, 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 the right nutrition, all that. They didn't know that back when the first folks were climbing Mount Everest. The same is true for the Ironman Triathlons. When we went and we did Ironman Canada, or I did it in 1987, you didn't know, there wasn't, the only nutrition bar that they had just come out was a power bar. And there wasn't Gatorade at that time. It was something called Exceed, which was another sort of, it was like Gatorade. And the triathletes, I know I'd go for long bike rides and I'd take some baked potatoes with me, because that's all you knew was carbs, and just whatever you could eat, you just didn't know. And I remember doing it, and it was like you didn't know if you were coming back alive. It was that, nowadays, and again, no disrespect to people that do triathlons, Ironman triathlons, because me, knowing better than most, it's a major accomplishment, and it's hard, and it requires a lot of training. And I have actually said that the Ironman is actually doing the race isn't hard. I consider the race, if you do your training properly, because the training is hard. It's long, it's hard, it's repetitive, it's week after week, day after day, training session after training session. That, to me, when you do the race, if you've prepared properly, the Ironman is the victory lap. Because you've done everything you need to do leading up to that. And that's where I look at it now, and I look at where triathlons come. People know how to train. Back then, we didn't know how to train. I think the longest bike ride, I think if you did a 100-mile bike ride, just one, that was enough. You didn't want to do more than that. Yet now you fast forward to today, when I was training 10 years ago pretty competitively, I did in 1 year 26 bike rides, 26 weekends of bike rides over 113 miles. So weekend after every weekend was a 100-mile bike ride. Back in the day, when we didn't know any better, in 1987, I think I did, my longest bike ride was 73 miles. And then every year you do your token century bike ride, which would be 100 miles, and you'd be exhausted and everything else. So anyway, my point being is that things have really changed from the past when I started to what it is now. With that said, as I mentioned before, there's those that sign up and just jump right in, like my buddy John Barkley, who's probably watching this. I met him at the pool, and he couldn't swim. He had never swam before, and he had signed up for an Ironman. He never did a triathlon before, never swam before. And then he signed up, and he figured, you know what? Now that I'm signed up, I better learn how to swim. And he did. And he did the race. And it actually motivated me when I met him, because I hadn't done an Ironman in 16 years, and I joined a master swim group, and John was in it. And I got talking to him, and he said, yeah, I signed up for this Ironman, had no experience, anything. So needless to say, when I got home, I went online and I signed up for an Ironman. And then the two of us spent that year training together, at least running together every weekend and doing some training work. John's the type of guy that can't ride a bike outdoors. He has to be on a trainer. He's too scared. Here's a guy he's retired now, but he was a cop, kind of in the, what would you call it? Kind of undercover and dealing with bad dudes and drugs and serial killers and all that sort of stuff. It was something called Rope, which was a division or whatever, bunch of badass cops. And so anyway, he could put up, he tells stories that are just have you shaking in your boots, the type of people he dealt with. And here's this guy that can't go down a hill faster than like 40 kilometers an hour because it freaks him out. Anyway, so I never rode my bike with him, but we ran a lot together, and consider him a good friend. So anyway, I'm going too long, so I'm not going to tell the story of how I decided or how I got into Ironman. So it's a good story. I think it's a good story. It's an interesting story. People laugh at it. So I'm not going to, but I will tell it tomorrow. So if you tune in tomorrow, I'll definitely tell it. In the meantime, I've signed up for this thing. So now the next step is I got to train for it. So I already reached out to my old coach, Mark Allen, and just emailed him and said, hey, dude, how much time, when should I start training? Because it's 5 months away. So I think the maximum amount that he'll do a training program is 20 weeks. So we're right on the bubble. The only thing I'm a little nervous about is the calves holding up, because the mileage is pretty significant. Even though it's half Ironman training, it's probably about 2/3, maybe even 3/4 of the same type of training as the Ironman. So if you train for an Ironman, it's not double the training. It's only an extra 25-30% of a half Ironman. And I know that it's not going to be easy. So all that I care about is if my body can withstand it. So it's going to be a lot of heart rate training, low heart rate training, which I did tonight on the bike, which, as I mentioned before, you got to drag yourself. I dragged myself again tonight to get on the bike. What time is it? 9:30. So it wasn't early. And a lot of low heart rate. So I just did low heart rate, throw the ego out the door, and just train at a low heart rate. Condition your body to burn fat as fuel. It's your number one fuel source. And I guess ultimately the reason I signed up is you need a goal. I don't want to, you want to have something that you're working towards. Secondly is it forces you to maintain and get in shape, because it is a distance that it's for me, it's not scary, but it can be very painful still if you're not in decent shape. Going to an Ironman not in shape is very scary, and I've done it. Trust me, it's not something you want to do ever or very often. I've done it twice. Don't want to do it. And so so you need a goal. Definitely be training. It's going to get me in better shape, and it'll be interesting to see. I've got a goal in my mind, but in terms of time, but I want to first see, make sure my legs and everything hold out. But yeah, I'm anxious to at least I got a goal 5 months from now. And the other side of it is it'll also continuously keep me focused on losing weight. Hopefully it won't be 5 months and I'm still trying to lose the 50 pounds. But even, it's just, it works all around. It's good for me mentally. It's good for me health-wise, keeping in shape, eating properly, losing weight. And it's fun. You get to go on a bit of vacation. I'm going to be able to see my daughter and her boyfriend. And yeah, so it's all good. So that's what the plan is. It's going to be a half Ironman, Calgary 70.3, August 1st. And yeah, as long as I can stay healthy, man. If I can stay healthy, I can do the training. I'm not worried about that. Last but not least, I don't know what it is, man. I'm getting another cold sore. Pisses me off. Usually I get one a year or maybe one every 6 months, but 2 now back to back. That's just telling me I'm a little bit stressed. I don't know why. Maybe I'm stressed because I'm not losing weight. Whatever it is. Anyway, I am now rambling. So have a good one. We will see you tomorrow. Over and out. Living Pain.